Adding probiotics and cleaning up my diet actually made my bloating worse, not better. And once I ran a GI map, I finally understood why. The healthier I ate, the worse I felt. More fruits, more vegetables, more fiber, more probiotics, and I was just feeling more bloated, more gassy, and really uncontrollable acid reflux. And it would just not go away. I could not understand why. And because, by most standards, I was doing everything right. But it wasn't until I ran a GI map stool study on myself that I finally had my answer. And my answer was this: bacterial overgrowth. If that sounds familiar, if you're eating a lot of healthy foods and you're especially eating those healthy foods and it makes you feel even worse with your bloating, or if you've taken probiotics, that also makes you feel worse, or you're dealing with bloating, reflux, or that really heavy feeling after you eat meals, stay with me because this episode is probably going to explain what is going on in your gut, okay? So, little disclaimer here, yes, I am a physician assistant, but this episode is not medical advice. It is for educational purposes. Please talk with your healthcare professional before you change anything with your medications, supplements, or health protocols, okay? We are going to start with the basics. Your gut hosts trillions of bacteria. That is not a bad thing. You're supposed to have bacteria in your gut. But the key word here is balance. When that balance is disrupted, certain bacteria grow beyond what they should, and they colonize areas of the digestive tract that they shouldn't. Okay, that is what is called bacterial overgrowth. And that doesn't just mean you have a little bit extra bacteria. This is an environment where the wrong bacteria, or what we call the bad bacteria, have taken over. Okay, so they're basically interfering with your body's ability to digest foods, to extract nutrients, and maintain a healthy gut lining or prevention of what we call leaky gut. And here's the part that trips a lot of people up. Bacterial overgrowth doesn't always just look like you're eating junk food and drinking alcohol and you have gut issues. It can look like you're eating very healthy, but you feel 9 months pregnant after you eat a salad. Here is why. Bacteria feed on carbohydrates. They ferment them specifically. So when you eat fruits, vegetables, high fiber foods that are genuinely nutritious, if your digestion is not working properly, those foods won't get broken down how they should. Instead, they're going to sit in your digestive tract and the bad bacteria will overgrow. This is known as fermentation, and fermentation is what produces gas. Gas produces bloating, fullness feeling, pressure, distension, acid reflux, because that gas needs to go somewhere, okay? So this is why when you eat healthier and you have bacterial overgrowth, your symptoms can actually get worse. You're literally feeding an overgrowth. And, this is not to say like you need to go back to eating processed foods. That's not what I'm saying. The food itself is not bad. What's going on in your gut is what's bad, okay? So your digestive environment is just not equipped to handle those foods, but we would like to get you to a place where your gut can handle them. This is also why probiotics often backfire in this situation, because if you already have an imbalance of bacteria and you have a lot of bad bacteria, probiotics are basically just additional good bacteria that you're adding in your gut. So if you're adding that additional bacteria as a supplement, that can make problems worse, again, if your gut is not equipped to handle it. This is exactly what was happening to me, and it was basically my body's way of telling me there's something underlying going on. Okay, so why does bacterial overgrowth happen in general? How does this occur? Why does this occur? 3 main things that are happening here, and it's really kind of upstream things that we need to think about as to why this happens. One is low stomach acid. This is the most common and overlooked reason. Your stomach acid sits in your stomach and responsible for breaking down food. It doesn't just do that though. It's the first line defense against pathogens, toxins, or bacteria that shouldn't be going where it's supposed to. So if your stomach acid is low for a lot of different reasons, so chronic stress, poor diet, aging, or you've used a lot of over-the-counter antacids, Tums, PPIs, so things like omeprazole, Prilosec, Nexium, things like that, that will lower your stomach acid. And then what happens is the bacteria that should have gotten eliminated by your stomach acid in the stomach doesn't, and it survives and it makes its way through your digestive tract and colonizes in the rest of your GI tract. Okay, so the irony here is that a lot of people will have low stomach acid and they'll have these symptoms. They go to their doctor and they're given something like a PPI, so they're put on something like omeprazole, which then makes these issues long-term worse because you're just further decreasing the stomach acid. 2 is digestive enzymes. So this is the second major piece. Digestive enzymes break down your food, okay? So it's secreted by your pancreas and it breaks down proteins, fats, and carbs. If your body's not breaking those things down or your digestive enzymes are low, again, stress plays a major role here, your food doesn't get fully broken down or absorbed. So partially digested food will sit in your gut and ferment, again, creating more of an overgrowth gas issue. 3 is stress. This deserves a whole point in itself because it basically leads back to the first 2 things. When your nervous system is in a state of fight or flight or constant stress, your body is not going to prioritize digestion. The opposite side of that is rest and digest, okay? So if you're chronically stressed, both stomach acid and digestive enzymes drop. Your gut motility is going to slow down, meaning that food is literally moving through your gut at a much slower pace. So that gives the bacteria a lot more time to overgrow. Stress obviously doesn't just affect your mood. It disrupts completely the way your gut needs to function. So this is why I always tell people you can't out-supplement a stressed nervous system. You could take every probiotic, you could eat the best diet ever, but if you are highly stressed and your body keeps reverting back to low stomach acid, low digestive enzymes, those supplements aren't going to do crap, okay? So let's talk about what actually fixing this would require, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. Bacterial overgrowth, not usually something, as we've established, that's going to get better just simply with a clean diet, okay? Once the overgrowth has established, you typically need to do what's called a kill protocol. This is a targeted approach to get rid of those overgrown bacteria. Now, I can't give you the specifics as to what that protocol should be because the honest answer is that it very highly depends on what the overgrowth is. I use different kill protocols with different forms of bacterial overgrowth, okay? So there's not one blanket statement protocol that you could do for this. But what I will tell you is this process takes time. It can be a few weeks to a few months, but it will work, okay? So this is, just an example. For clients that have bacterial overgrowth, I often start with something called a biofilm disruptor. Bacteria is very smart, unfortunately, so they will film a protective layer around themselves. This is called a biofilm, and this basically shields them from anything you're trying to treat it with or clear it out by. This is often why people develop antibiotic resistance. And after we disrupt that biofilm, we then move into herbal antimicrobials. So these are things like oil of oregano, berberine, or other botanical compounds that are specifically going to target that overgrown bacteria. Again, this is all based off of what is showing up on their testing. From there, depending again on what the labs show, we may incorporate motility support because, again, one of the issues this overgrowth happens is if someone's not going to the bathroom often enough and things aren't moving through their gut efficiently. If we clear the bacteria but we don't address the motility, the environment that allowed the overgrowth to happen is just going to keep getting worse. The underlying issue won't be treated. After the kill phase, we then move into the repair phase. So this is supporting the gut lining, restoring stomach acid and enzyme production. And then we will carefully introduce the right strains of probiotics or pre and probiotics foods to feed the good bacteria. Okay, so the order of that matters, the timing of that matters. That's why doing this without your own results is honestly just kind of a waste of time and money. The repair phase is absolutely vital to ensure that this just doesn't come back again. I've had a lot of people come to me that have, done the kill phase, or maybe they've went through 6 months with me and completed the kill phase and they feel like they're done. And I tell them the repair phase is just as important, if not more important, than the kill phase, because we want to make sure this doesn't happen again and you don't have to go through the same protocol again. So to the women who try to shortcut this, maybe they just grab a herbal supplement that they saw on Instagram or something and they take it for 2 weeks and then they wonder why they're still bloated. It's usually because you're missing this part of the picture. Again, maybe they don't know what they're treating. Maybe they're not targeting the specific bacteria that is overgrown for them. Or maybe they do treat it, but then it comes right back because they didn't do a repair phase afterwards, okay? Healing bacterial overgrowth is a process. It has to be done in the right order, at the right intensity, based on what your body is actually showing you. And then, of course, we cannot miss the nervous system piece to this. So with my clients, along with the kill phase and the repair phase, I'm very much working on nervous system regulation. So working on overall stress load while they are going through these phases, being in a calm state when you're eating, adequately chewing your food, that helps you produce more of the digestive enzymes, and then not disrupting your digestion with something like fluids. So I always tell my clients, don't drink a lot of water during your meals or for 30 minutes after, because that's going to dilute your stomach acid even more. So this brings me to the most important point of the whole conversation. You can't treat something that you have not yet identified. So a GI map, which is a comprehensive stool analysis, that is the most valuable tool that I like to use. It tells us exactly what is living or overgrowing in your gut. It tells us if things are overgrown or deficient, if you have certain pathogens, parasites, how your gut lining is, leaky gut, inflammation. When I finally ran that test on myself, it helped me understand why so much of this was happening for me. The bloating, the reflux, the fact that probiotics didn't really help me, okay? So when I did the testing, I then had a clear path forward of what I can do to fix it. So if you've been dealing with chronic bloating, digestive discomfort, or symptoms that really just keep getting worse even with healthy foods, and your gut has just never really been right, I would highly encourage you to stop guessing and actually get some testing done. If you're interested in working with my team for testing, we can order virtually across the United States. I would recommend that you fill out the questionnaire in the description down below. Our free initial call will be included with that. And we basically work with women who are done with guessing and ready to actually get to the bottom of this. Bacterial overgrowth, honestly, one of those things that is missed for years, because the symptoms can feel very similar to just simple food sensitivities or just stress, or, maybe that's just how my body is. I've always been bloated. But when you actually look and you actually test, it shows up very clearly. And it's actually very treatable when you do it correctly. So if this resonated with you, share it with someone, maybe share it with someone that's been having these same underlying issues of chronic bloating. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you in the next video.